10 days after the disappearance and alleged kidnapping of a film producer in the central region of the country, his whereabouts remains unknown. We get to talk more on that in the second part of this newscast. And also users of the Vuri Bridge say that more lives risk being lost if proper security measures are not put in place by competent authorities in the region. These are major headlines, details and more just in a moment. Good evening to you viewers. Thanks indeed for joining us at 6 p.m. on this edition of the Balingua newscast, or of the primetime newscast on Equinox Television. The publisher of Parole, a local newspaper here in the economic capital, Douala, has been given a 2-month jail term for defamation and also insult. Senior reporter Chris Toby tells us in the following report that he is currently being detained at the New Bell Central Prison. His report.
8 days, already 8 days, that the publisher of Parole newspaper is detained at the New Bell Central Prison. Jean-Marie Chachuang is set to be serving a 2-month jail term pronounced by the Douala Ndokoti Court of First Instance since March 25, 2013. This journalist was found guilty of defamation and insult through the press in a case opposing him to the general manager of Sokatu, Jean-Ernest Ngale-Bibeye. A sentence qualified by the Communications Secretary of the Cameroon National Trade Union of Journalists as unjust. Jean-Marie Chachuang, before his detention, had in a letter addressed to Reporters Sans Frontières, an international NGO for journalists, explained the physical tortures he went through in the hands of Ngale-Bibeye and his recruited talks in September 2012. His lawyer is said to have appealed the sentence, equally holding that many incorrections appear in the case. And the National Trade Union for Cameroon Journalists is bent on going further than just the press release to denounce the case of Jean-Marie Chachuang.
Senior reporter Chris Toby there reporting on the case of the publisher of Parole, a local newspaper here in the economic capital, Douala, who is currently under detention. Now we talk about the case opposing the former managing director of the National Oil Refinery, Charles Metok, where the prosecution at the Limbe Court of First Instance in the southwest region of the country has rejected the demands of the defense lawyers of the former GM of Sonara. The lawyers had requested the replacement of the judge presiding over the case on grounds that he was not fair in his judgment, and Charles Metok is still under detention after he was accused of forgery of documents and also signing and destroying same at Sonara after his replacement, and the case has been adjourned for Thursday this week. Now, so we shall also be talking about the student of the University of Yaoundé 1 in the central region of the country whose whereabouts remains unknown 10 days after he reportedly disappeared and was also kidnapped. Our guest tonight is a member of the Cameroon film industry. Will be telling us more on that in the second part of this newscast. Now we remain here in the economic capital, Douala, to say that locals around the Deido gendarmerie post here around the Vuri River were this morning in a state of consternation and also a shock after the discovery of a corpse of a person in an advanced state of decomposition. Another human interest story that took place in the early hours of this morning here in the economic capital, Douala, was a heavy-duty truck that lost control, one running into a roadside structure and also destroying the said structures, and another spilling down all of its contents. Rani Besoto took keen interest on the various human interest story that took place this morning in the economic capital, Douala. Now tells us more.
After the torrential rains that battered the economic capital on the night of first breaking second morning, locals around BP City got up to discover that the whole road was covered with broken bottles. This truck, belonging to a local brewery company, reportedly lost control of its brakes, overturning several times and destroying almost all of its contents. Residents around the area attributed the incident to overspeeding and lack of speed brakes, a situation which greatly paralyzed circulation, especially during the peak hours of the morning. There were no human casualties. Not far from here, on the same stretch of road around Collège Benedict, another heavy-duty truck carrying cement equally lost control and ran into some two roadside structures. Eyewitnesses said if not for a firm pole that stopped the vehicle, it would have broken down many more structures and houses. Still on the same day, a bike transporting the student collided with another bike, leaving all on board on the ground with minor bruises. The bike rider took the injured student back to her home, claiming he did not have money to take her to hospital. And finally, locals around the Bonaberry Bridge close to the gendarmerie were led to a macabre discovery by a foul smell. The corpse of a man sitting upright already in an advanced state of decomposition. Some elements of law and order descended to the area to dispose of the remains. At the time of finding in this report, no traces of the identity or cause of the man's death were established.
Ranibel Satowara there with a series of human interest stories that took place between yesterday and this morning in the city of Douala. Meanwhile, crossing over the Vori Bridge remains a veritable problem to users who complain that they have to spend hours, especially at rush hours. And commuters say the state of the bridge, constructed over 60 years ago, continues to be posing the problem of insecurity to vehicles and also pedestrians plying them and applying the said bridge. They advance that the situation is compounded with the problem of broken bars on the bridge created by accident, the most recent being the driver who dashed into the river last weekend. That was precisely on Sunday morning. Questions are also being raised on the second bridge over the Vori Bridge, whose construction works were announced for the year 2013. Now, residents along the banks of the Limbe River, we are in the southwest region of the country, are complaining bitterly that the water which serves for drinking and also for other chores is often being polluted. They are also denouncing the absence of pipe-borne water as in several neighborhoods in Limbe, as our Limbe-based correspondent Davison Maimo reports.
This is the Limbe River that flows from Wututu in Boya, passing through several neighborhoods. The inhabitants of some neighborhood that this river passes through have identified certain spots along the banks of the river, which according to them is pure for drinking. The river also serves as a point for washing of dresses and even bathing, as this lady seriously enjoyed the cold water. It is the same act that goes along the river banks, while others are using it as a source of drinking water. Most of the households along the river banks do not have toilet, hence what they call original flushing toilet. The people say they are badly in need of pipe-borne water.
Public taps here that can give us good drinking water. This is what we use in drinking. And to come here, we have to cross the bridge, which is not also good, which is not a good part to come here. Despite the presence of Cameroonese des Eaux, neighborhood still do not have pipe-borne water. Other neighborhoods are suffering from water rationing almost on a daily basis.
Now, the problem of water rationing in the town of Limbe might soon be a thing of the past, but the question that remains is how soon is that going to be possible when projects in that light or in that direction are on a standstill. Reports say contractors of the new pipeline to extend water supply in the town of Limbe are working in a slow pace and also contrary to the directives of the Water Management Committee. Davison Maimo once again tells us more in the following report.
Chairman of the Bonadikomo Water Management Committee, Prince Peter Wututu, said the contractor in charge of the new water pipeline to increase the water supply of the area is not working according to specifications.
Coming down from Ewongo village, all the pipes are being laid on top of the soil and grounds are being covered on it. Meaning to say that during rainy season, all the pipes will be exposed on some places. Really, we are very, very sad to see that they are doing a very bad job, which will be repeated in the years to come. And I don't know whether if there's a supervision, that the supervision company was supposed to supervise and see that the job is effectively done. They haven't put in any sand, no lining indicator on the soil.
The project that is being carried out by the Limbe One Council with funds from FECOM
risks not to support its guaranteed duration after completion. It is expected that upon completion, the issue of water rationing within Bora di Kombo will become of history, as neighboring quarters might even benefit from the supply. The water is solely run by the community, with a levy of 1,500 CFA francs for each household yearly.
Now we talk about the strike action of Chinese traders in Cameroon, whose activities seem to have resumed after a 7-day strike action against upsurge of insecurity. The Chinese traders reopened their shops yesterday and also today, but an official statement has not been made so far, as Jonathan Babla tells us in the following report.
This is the heart of Chinese business activities in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. Commercial transactions are unfolding normally between the Chinese traders and their clients. These shops owned by Chinese were closed for 7 days as they embarked on a strike action to protest against growing insecurity. The Chinese traders are said to have reopened their shops in respect to a circular reportedly from the Chinese embassy in Yaoundé. Some of the Chinese traders were questioned in a bid to get answers concerning their plight, could not answer our questions due to language barrier. Meanwhile, others who could make some few sentences in the French language refused to speak, possibly for fear of the unknown. The reopening of Chinese shops has brought a smile to the faces of some hawkers, especially young Cameroonians who purchase goods at considerable prices from the Chinese and sell in the streets of Douala. However, some Cameroonians consider the Chinese as intruders taking away opportunities for locals.
Meanwhile, women who constitute the majority of voting population in Cameroon, likewise southwest region of the country, seem not to be represented in politics. The observation was made during a workshop to train women on the proper mastery of the new electoral laws. David Simaimo in the bed tells us more in the following report.
The workshop is aimed at training women as peer educators on knowing the new electoral law. According to Mr. Barthélemy Chapna, CEO of Kajad, a non-governmental organization, the workshop is coming after studies have been carried out indicating that women, who constitute the majority of the voting population, are not just but very ignorant of the new electoral code. The workshop's main objective is to empower the women to equally get into politics.
Their fear is that, one, is that government has not come out clearly with a number or the percentage of the women in the list. Although government is making effort for all for women to be represented in the list or to be represented in the different offices, but the number is too low and they are.
The women express satisfaction and say vital information gathered at the workshop will be shared with other women in their various localities.
I think actually, first of all, the seminar is of great importance and it is timely because it's preparing women's mind towards the forthcoming elections. Knowing who is capable to go in as a candidate, at what level, what is required as a candidate, your duties, your rights, and what to do in case of any difficulty or any problem.
It's really beneficial, being that we have been taught a lot of things which will actually build up the woman to be able to stand.
The workshop is bringing more than 30 women from all the subdivisions within FACO division.
Davison Maimo, Alimbebe's correspondent there, reporting now. That does it for this segment of the news. But up next is Talking Point. Thanks indeed, viewers, for joining us tonight on Talking Point. The issue of the film producer and student of the University of Yaoundé 1 that was allegedly kidnapped and also disappeared is still preoccupying to many Cameroonians. The whereabouts of the boy is still unknown 10 days after he disappeared. Tonight we have a member of the Cameroon film industry, particularly one of the executive members, a public relations officer, Alain Menget. Good evening and thanks indeed for joining us tonight on Talking Point.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm grateful being here on Equinox today, and it's quite a beautiful place. My first time of coming here.
Thanks indeed. I begin, like I earlier said, a student and also a film producer in the University of Yaoundé, one in the central region of the country, was kidnapped, allegedly. That's an allegation. And he has been missing for 10 days now. What's your immediate reaction to that?
Yeah, I'm grateful you say student one, then second filmmaker, which means he's a Cameroonian. Like a Cameroonian, I am concerned by another citizen. And talking about our film industry, when we heard that the person was something to do with somebody to do with movie, our executive is just 9 days old. We took over government on the 23rd of March. And after that, that was the first information we've had. We've struggled to find out the list, his name on the list of attendance in any of the meetings, which means we do not know him yet. But we definitely know it's a filmmaker. You know, we're not yet too centralized. We have so many groups running movie in Cameroon. There's a CFI, the Cameroon Film Industry, which is like an association. So we're mostly Anglophones there. Actually, the president of the CFI, Mr. Otia Vitalis, and the other PRO, Agbo Gilbert, went right over to Bonamusadi yesterday and this morning, and up till now, Bonamusadi in Yaoundé. And up to now, before I got here, the last call I called was to see if they had any information about the boy, what movie he's done, because it doesn't matter if he's registered to us or not, but by the time you called us on the phone that we needed to come talk about him, we also had to come find out a lot of things about him, and it's not still yet clear.
Before we get to talk about the division that is reigning in the Cameroon movie industry, we need to talk about this Richard Njimili. Is actually the name of the boy who disappeared. Nothing has been done so far by the government, no filmmakers. We are 10 days after his alleged kidnapping. Is that not worrying or questioning?
It's also worrying when the investigative journalist has not gone yet to the field to find out to tell us that. I am a journalist before I became a filmmaker, and I'm still very, very active. Most of these investigations are done by police. And the journalists like you're supposed to go to the field like we go in there because he's our member. But of course, the journalists
primary by members or filmmakers.
Yes,
primarily.
Filmmakers are just like journalists, of course.
It's thanks to the journalists that you got to get the information.
Yeah, thanks to the journalists, and of course means the journalists got plenty of facts.
It means that they set their agenda for you, maybe to carry out your necessary investigations.
We're not doing investigative journalism. We are producers. We're not also refusing the fact that the journalist has done good favor. We are at the field, and we're struggling to find out what is happening to him. I'm happy you're using the word alleged because practically right now we do not know exactly what is happening. You know, apart from being a filmmaker, he was an individual. He was a student, which means he's got a personal life too.
And his door sealed. He had earlier received threatening messages alongside the other actors of the set movie. That is where it becomes preoccupying.
We too want to know inside of that. I mean, you already have the facts of the messages. We want to know, don't blame us. We live in a country where there's a lot of rumors. And so we don't want to work on the idea that somebody heard something. We are doing it to cover another filmmaker.
Something that you need to find out.
Yes, of course. Me and you. You, the journalist, and I'm the police.
And talking about, this is the first time that a movie of such nature, the producer actually, Richard Njimili, is actually denouncing longevity in power. This is the first time that a movie that is predicting the African society or societal ills in Cameroon, like other countries in Africa, is being produced, and the whereabouts of the producer unknown. What does that mean?
It's also the first time that we have been called on TV to talk because some person was kidnapped. So the idea is not just the idea of the film he did, as I said from the beginning. There are plenty of inspiration in Cameroon. And I don't want to speculate here to tell you that because of that movie he was collapsed, that he was kidnapped. I don't want to speculate. I don't want to use any idea of speculation here because he was a student, he could have had enemies. And I don't want to use things I'm not sure about. I don't want to talk things that are not factual. So, yeah. Equinox has talked a lot about longevity, and we've not seen any person kidnapped yet here, isn't it? So, despite the fact that we understand that he could have been kidnapped because of that, the media has talked a lot about people in power here too. The radio stations, the TV stations have talked so much. We've got a liberal media. And if the movie has come and that's the first person to be kidnapped, I don't think we should just throw on that. The investigations should be on the table. And it could be possible that we also involve the police. It could be an enemy. We put it flat and we take it from there.
Something we need to find out.
Something we need to find out.
But if much attention is focused on the film that is produced,
yes,
discouraging enough for many actors who might want to venture in such.
The discouragement by the production of that movie is not about the discouragement we have received from the private media and public media in this country. Never has any Anglophone film been shown on this TV. And the few films in French, we've just seen them. So it's not just the problem of that particular thing being discouraging actors. There's so many things that are discouraging movie in the country, and that could
What
be
are
one.
some of these things that are discouraging?
Yes, of course. The main thing is our movie and not put on our media. That's the biggest problem we got. We do a lot of movie that we cannot market. We do movie that we don't have markets. The media doesn't encourage us. You do not tell people that you could consume Cameroonian.
And what are you doing to market your product? Because you are the principal actor here.
Yeah, principal actor, the producer now. We are 9 years old and we have formed guilds, including a marketing.
Before you
guild.
came,
Yeah.
another group was
Yes,
already
of course,
there.
there was another group there that also did a lot. But you don't expect us to jump from somewhere. I'll explain something to you. The CFI is an association of mostly Anglophone, English-speaking actors. Well, first of all, the minority. And secondly, we're talking about 5 million people to buy our produce. You don't expect my big stars out there like we do to go sell films on the buses, isn't it?
So you mean your product is it targets only English speakers? That is not that seemingly is not true, because when you look at other movies like from countries
I've not said that our products target English speakers. We do movie in English and we have subtitles on movies in French. But I'm telling you that we do not have the support that some French films do have. You do show some French movies on this TV. Could you remember the last time, if it ever happened, that you showed?
Who is to be blamed here? Is it not the Cameroon film industry who is not doing anything maybe to market its product?
Is the idea of marketing coming to TV, or are you talking about public marketing, or is it media marketing?
It's not the media marketing. The Cameroon film industry has a lot to play here because you are the principal actor to market your product.
Yes. Anyway, apart from the Cameroon film industry, which is growing, individuals have come to media that they have not been received, many of them. But we are doing well internationally on the electronic media, Africa Magic. We've got our films. Many people do know Cameroonian films from foreign media. If the idea is that we were not running through Kenyan streams or running through Nigerian streams, South African streams, it would have been a failure. The only place that our media, our movies are not projected is our country, which means if we had doubled and it's been accepted out.
So what's the problem? What's the problem?
All of us know the problem, bottlenecks and the fact that a lot of people do not believe in us. And also, you and I, if we get to the other side of the media, you don't want people to be stars because of the whole idea that we think about. This is not the person I saw moving on the road yesterday. It's a lot of bottlenecks on TV. We've got one of the worst TVs in Africa because of the idea of bottlenecks. People don't want people to grow. If I come here and I'm talking, well, the next thing you'll be scared. The problem is not just the Cameroon movie industry. It's also the Cameroon media. All of us know we're behind. Would be stereotyped if you want to compare our media with the rest. One little thing, the talents have not been selected in media and TV, rather media and movie. So it's not it. Media and movie have always worked together. Most of the top actors in this world were journalists, were animators, were those that prepare profile. Tell me one of the showcasing programs you got on your TV that you call Cameroonian actors to come and talk.
You earlier talked about division in the Cameroon movie industry. Yeah. What is actually happening?
You used the word division, but what I said we were not together.
Not together.
It's a very difference between division. We're not together. Now, those doing movie in the French language are doing a lot of movie in the French language, and that association only recently came up where we have some Francophone speakers coming to do some Anglophone movies, and we're going to try, and you don't expect us to be running through a primary industry and just move on to secondary. So that is a problem here. We also should be thinking about our mentality approach. Cameroon is supposed to be enjoying democracy. Sorry, Cameroon is supposed to be enjoying bilingualism, and that is what I think we are losing here. We've got the multi-choice Africa that is taking care of every product in the common world when it comes to the English production. In Tanzania, in Ethiopia, down in South Africa, they pick up the people for Big Brother Africa. They do not know that Cameroon, there are English speakers there. I did a documentary for CNN, but when I wanted to apply inside, they said multi-choice, and they said I should go to French, but my documentaries are in English. It's the same thing in the French. When you get from the Francophonie, a lot of people there believe Cameroon is bilingual, and we're not using. So they will get there and they will want to follow what is happening in
So it's on the part of the government now
of
that
course,
you're talking.
the part of the government, but somebody is supposed to elect government. I prefer the approach of electing government, and the person who is supposed to elect government is the interview you're supposed to be giving us. It is the media that is supposed to elect government.
Just like now,
Yes,
Mr.
of course.
Adelemenge.
It is not me booking for audience to go see the minister. Of course, you should call us, and we talk on those things, and if there's a possibility of a way forward, because there's no way. We may fail in our generation, but there's no way that this country will exist in the future without movies, because this country has got a history. We're not talking just positive.
Which is projected in movies,
Yes, of
writings, and also maybe in music. But before you go, what are you doing about the case of Richard Njimeli?
Yes, as I told you, the president of the Cameroon film industry is at hand, still with the public relations officers and some other executives, especially those in Yaoundé, are trying to find out his personality.
Thanks indeed, Mr. Adelemenge, for joining us tonight on Talking Point. We would love to have you some other time again.
I'm grateful, and I think I still like your studio.
Thanks indeed, viewers. We have come to the end of this edition of the Primetime Newscast on Equinox Television. We're talking about the boy who was, or the producer who has disappeared and also allegedly kidnapped in the central region of the country after he produced a movie on longevity, or criticizing longevity in power. Thanks indeed once again for watching. Have a wonderful stay in the company of our programs. Good evening.